Okay, this is my next job is to get a door and an overhang on this. The wind comes from in the wintertime when it's raining very often. The wind is coming from behind me, and so it blows really pretty hard against the front of this. So in order to protect the door and the door hardware, it's going to be one of these sliding barn doors. One of the wrinkles is that I lost the instructions for the sliding barn door hangers, so I just have to figure it out. I wrote to the supplier, Chinese supplier, of course, and through Amazon. It wasn't expensive, but I'm not going to buy another one just to get the instructions. They never replied, but I don't think it's going to be super hard to figure out. So that's what's coming next. First step is to get the work platform elevated. I tried putting it on these work platforms, a couple of boards across, and not quite tall enough to get up there and work comfortably. So I'm going to try something different with ladders, and we'll check back and see how that goes. Okay, now it's on two of these adjustable ladders. I've got the planks doubled up for one thing. May as well. Makes it narrower, but at least it's a good height. I do love these adjustable ladders, with the exception that they're extremely heavy. So that is the one unfortunate property of them. Okay, I made a couple of these locating blocks, and I'm going to attach them up above. You can see that this wood likes to split. The problem with these screws, I screwed it together with these. The problem is you really got to bury. See, that one is so buried. To get these things to pull up tight, you really got to bury the screw if you don't pre-drill a nice clearance hole, which I didn't do. It's probably a mistake. Anyway, pre-drilling's better. So I got my supports. They're spaced with it's basically 2x2x4s. I showed that before. It's going to give a little bit of a lip so water doesn't run like back underneath. Plus over here in the doorway, be able to put some door trim in there. It'd be better if it was maybe like only an inch, but 2x4 is an inch and a half. It'll be fine. It's just a shed after all. So now the trick is to get that green board that's over there. I got to muscle it up and then fix it so that it doesn't move, and then figure out where to put the fasteners. Okay, I got it up there. It's leveled. It's tacked in place with a finish nailer, more or less along the center line of the board. That'll be enough to hold it while I mark it for fastening. And actually, I got to find some timber fasteners to get that thing screwed on. I'm going to check in the garage. I might have to go to the hardware store, but we'll see what we get. Check back. Okay, so this is what I settled on, these headlock things. They got like a thin wafer head. Anyway, they're 4.5 inches long, which should be plenty long enough to get through there and into the studs. I marked where the positions of the studs earlier, and then I measured down, so I got to put them, if I want them to be hidden by the track, not really that important, but I'm going to shoot for it, between 2 3/8 and 5 inches down from the top. That ought to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and install those now. Okay, got it up there. Got those ledger locks screwed. I drilled pilot holes, even though it says you don't have to. I couldn't get the things to go in without pilot holes. So I drilled a little pilot hole, and then they bite really good. So I got them down like 2.5 inches, maybe 3.5 inches. I can't remember. From the top. Anyway, within that window, and you can see that well, I put this flashing on top, which I don't think I need, but I bought it before I decided to put a little roof over this, so I put it in anyway. it took a while, but I figured this thing out. Okay, this is the hanger for the track, of course. There's a bunch of them. This is the trolley. The trolley comes just the trolley, and that's it. There's 2 of these bolts, so these go with the 2 trolleys. They have a little, it's got a flat on it for grabbing with a wrench, which wasn't obvious at first, but as soon as I started handling it, I could see that it has these flats. It's got a little nut, relatively little, and then it's got a much bigger one. The much bigger one, I don't know if you can see this, it fits in this sort of stamped slot, so you don't need to put a wrench on it, it'll stay put. And then this one is basically the one that binds it together, so nothing can, once you get this adjusted, you cinch down on the smaller nut that's on top, and then this piece won't turn anymore, not easily anyway. And whatever adjustment you make should stay put. And then there's, I guess depending on the weight of your door, the center of gravity, you can slide this and, to get it closer or farther away from the wall. You can adjust this and get it all tuned up because it's a big slot. Once you get everything the way it's supposed to be, you tighten this down. That means that this thing could hang down quite a long ways, or in my case, I probably don't want it to hang down super far. So there's a minimum that you can have it hang down. And then I'm gonna go get an offcut of that header piece, the green thing. And I will sort of figure out where these hangers should go, and then where this track's gonna go. And I kind of want to know, maybe it's silly, but I'm gonna try to put the fasteners where they're sort of hidden by the track, so that it looks a little bit nicer. Although it's just a shed, but couldn't hurt. Okay, I got the pieces out. Okay, there's 3 sections of track. This thing's like 10 feet long, which is longer than it needs to be. So I'm gonna have to cut it down at some point. Okay, and then I got these hangers. So there's 3 of this kind of hanger, and then there's 4 of this kind of hanger, and then there's 2 of these things. So I think these must be the stops to keep the trolley from riding out the end, which would be a good thing. There's 4 of these, so I think these go at the ends and the intersections. So I think it goes like this. These go there, and at this intersection, you see there's the holes match up, and then again at the very end, and at this far end, and then there's these 3 must just go then right here in the middle of the track. So I think that's how it's meant to go. And then somewhere in the fasteners, obviously something will go through this threaded hole into here. I'm not sure what holds the stops in. I think at first I thought that they went upside down like this, and a bolt, a carriage bolt went through there and up there. But I think it goes, well, let's see, how can I do this? Let me go to half, zoom out a little bit. I think it goes like this, with a carriage bolt facing down, and then some sort of a plate down here. Does that make sense? Because that way you could, the trolley, where's my trolley? The trolley wheel would just run into that. Oh, sorry. The trolley wheel would run into that and stop, of course, on the inside. and then something has to hold it in place. I haven't figured that part out yet, what holds it in place. So anyway, that's where I'm at so far. So even without the instructions, I think I figured out kind of what all the pieces do mostly. Now, when I make it shorter, I'm going to then have ends that don't have holes. So I'm going to have to drill holes. That shouldn't be big deal. I got to, yeah, that's no big deal. So it's all starting to make sense, which is good. I was hoping that I wouldn't need the instructions to explain how this thing goes together, since they got lost. Okay, I measured the rail for this sliding door, and it was supposed to be 10 feet, and it is. It's 120 inches long in 3 sections. The board that it gets mounted to is 106 1/4. So I need to make it, if it's going to match the board, I'd kind of like it to match the board. It will look good. I need to remove almost 14 inches, which means if I want it to kind of be symmetric, which is not necessary, but it's nice to have, I need to take 6 7/8 inches off of each end. And that's it. And so I'm going to do that. I got one of these Harbor Freight steel cutting blades. I'll show that in a second. Okay, I got one of these Hercules blades. It's for cutting steel, carbon steel, which is what that thing is made of. And luckily, I'm pretty sure all the guards on this saw are made of metal. You know, sometimes they make it of plastic and paint it metal, but I'm going to take a chance and guess that it really is metal. And so this should be okay. That's sort of lucky. I don't have to worry about melting anything, I don't think, if there's any like hot sparks coming off. It should be a nice short cut. Supposedly these metal blades don't throw a lot of sparks and they make nice cuts. I'm going to test that in a second. Okay, I got them marked at 6 7/8. Let's see, pretty close. And it's going to cut those little locating holes, so I'll have to drill new holes. But that'll be the next step. Okay, that did a pretty good job. You definitely want eye protection. It does spray some metal fragments around, but I didn't see a lot of sparking, and it's a pretty nice clean cut, and it goes really fast. So that was, I'll say that blade is a win. Okay, this was the solution I found at, I think it was Home Depot, for the sort of the end clamps that keep the trolley from flying out the end, although it really shouldn't be an issue if the door stops are in place. But anyway, we have it. And I think that's what these are, because like I said, I lost the instructions, but you know, it had one of these square holes, so I got a carriage pull, I think it's 5/8, and then I got one of these square washers here from, this would have been from the electrical section where they have all the Unistrut. Now, in retrospect, I could have just bought a big long piece of Unistrut yeah, and a trolley. They got all this stuff at Home Depot. Maybe I saved a little bit of money by buying it on Amazon. But anyway, it's going to work. But you don't have to go on Amazon. You can go down to Home Depot and pretty much get all this stuff at the Home Depot. Okay, that is clamped in place. I assembled it all. The ones at the joints, of course, they're fixed in place by those screws, and the ones in the middle kind of float. So there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 fixed ones, and oh, is that right? 1, and then 3 floating ones. So I am going to pre-drill some holes, and there's a chalk line. I don't know if you can see it. I ran a chalk line so I can get it all straight. Shouldn't be too hard. But yeah, oh, wait a minute, I'm pointing in the wrong place. Anyway, here we go. Here's a chalk line in there. So that's gonna help get it all lined up, I hope. And then we'll get that bolted on, started. Here we go. The rail is up. You can see I got the flashing, got the rail. It goes to the end of the board. It looks pretty level. I snapped the chalk line. You can see the chalk line under there, I think, maybe in this video. So obviously it needs a door and it needs, well, that's it. It needs a door. Yeah, I'm gonna make the door, which I've never done before. And before that, I'm gonna put a little overhang, and that'll be sort of the next step. So I'm gonna get the scaffolding up a level or two so I can get a little closer, work above the that rail. And so the next video, which will start in about 2 minutes, maybe it won't get released in 2 minutes, but it's the very next thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to start it pretty much now.